welcome to yet another edition of the Chief Auditor series. We have recorded 27 episodes until now, and this is the 28th episode. What a fine personality we have in Sachin Aroskar with us today. Sama Audit Systems brings yet another edition of the Chief Auditor series. Sachin is a qualified and experienced finance professional specializing in internal audit and risk management with expertise in assurance of oil and gas, real estate, and manufacturing industry. He has over 28 years, yes, I repeat, over 28 years. He doesn't look so old though, of practical industry experience, predominantly in the GRC domain. In addition, Sachin has also performed as head commercial in the past, providing complete financial and commercial support at a senior level for a group of overseas hydrocarbon exploration under assets under company operatorship. At present, he is the executive vice president and head internal audit at the Lodha Group, Macrotech Developers Limited, which is a listed company under the real estate development domain. At present, MDL, which is Macrotech Developers Limited, is the largest RE real estate developer in India by residential sales. Sachin's earlier experience included 7 years at the SR Group Corporate as well as SR Energy PLC and more than 8 years at Reliance Industries Limited. In addition to hydrocarbon, energy, and real estate, Sachin has also worked in textiles and consulting. Sachin is a commercial graduate from the University of Mumbai and a cost and management accountant. He has also successfully completed an on-campus management development program for working professionals from IIM Bangalore. He has done certification programs in hydrocarbon accounting and assurance from an international oil and gas training institute based out of Aberdeen, Scotland. He does have free time, and in his free time, Sachin loves to travel and explore new geographies. He loves to read and listen to classical and light music. Sachin is married and lives in Mumbai with his family. We now present Sachin to you, and we all are looking forward to a very exciting next 1 hour with Sachin. Thank you, Deepjee, for being here with us, and look forward to have a very engrossing session today.
Excellent. Welcome, Sachin. All the best, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, both Satish and Deepjee, and especially Satish for your kind words. And I'm really privileged to join this session and the series. I'm aware of the kind of personalities with the kind of experience and expertise that have previously showed up on this program. And I can only say that I feel honored that you have decided to include me in that kind of forum. So thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So yes,
please start your presentation. Please start your.
Sure. So I'm just sharing the screen with all of you, and just let me know if you are able to see on the screen the presentation that I'm trying to present. Are you able to see it?
Full screen. Full
You
screen.
can just make it full screen.
I've just done that.
Yeah, must. Perfect.
Yes, please. Perfect.
Thank you. So before we go into the details, I would like to state very clearly the regular disclaimers that we speak about is that this presentation is being done in my personal capacity. So all the views and opinions that I'm going to express are going to be my personal opinions, and they are in no way connected or they are not representative of the organization that I'm currently representing and none of the previous organizations that I have been employed. So that's the disclaimer, which is also clearly mentioned out here. So with this, let us look at a few things. So basically, before we speak about the the audit, I would just quickly like to do the company and business overview with current company that I'm working. So Macrotech Developers Limited, or Lodha Developers as it is known, is the largest real estate developer in the listed space in India by residential sales. All the details which you are seeing on the screen is basically from the public domain, and the source of this presentation is the integrated report that we published for the financial year 21-22. So nothing in this information is not publicly available. All this information is publicly available. So basically, to give you the idea, some of the numbers, we are all accountants and we love numbers. So basically, what we want to say is in the last 5 challenging years, FY16 to FY22, we have recorded more than 50,000 crores of sales. We have delivered more than 50,000 homes during the same period. So you can just take a breath and understand that people generally find it difficult to sell as many number of cars, as many number of homes that we deliver on a year in, year out basis. We have totally developed so far about 85 million square feet. 95 million square feet is under development. So with all the glorious past that we have, the future looks all the more glorious. And our Lodha family consists of more than 3,300 employees. On the rightmost side, basically, we have various brands that we represent, right from the Casa space up to the ultra luxury space. We are also present in the retail space as well as the commercial property. So that's the first slide. The key achievements that we would like to speak about, among the many that we have, what I would like to take a minute or two to explain is that now everybody is aware of the space called ESG, environmental, social, and governance. That's the new buzzword. Very happily and with pride, I would like to say that in the very second year of our ESG campaign, we started our ESG campaign in the year 21-22. We are in 22-23. In the second year of our ESG campaign, we have been tied up at number 1 position in India in the real estate sector, and we are tied up with the industry leader who has been a listed company for more than 10 years in this residential space. Globally, we are in 1% of all the companies in terms of the ESG ranking. We are also among the top 10 real estate companies, I repeat, among the top 10 real estate companies globally on the ESG score, as benchmarked by one of the top benchmarkers in this field, both S&P and GRESB. And this is one of the testimonies to show that whenever we participate in a particular drive, how quickly we come to the position of numero uno. That's the Lodha DNA, that is the Lodha culture, and that's how we basically operate in our field. So this space basically, and I would like to say that apart from our commercial activities, for-profit activities, we strongly believe, our management, our shareholding strongly believes in the motto, do good, do well. So in order to do well, you have to also do good. So in the CSR space, we are actively engaged. We work very actively with the communities in which we operate. We work with various worker groups, right from the laborers, the female employees, the families of the laborers, and all sections of the society, to see that what motto we stand for, building a better life, is not only for the supply chain and all the direct stakeholders of the Lodha group, but also for the larger communities under which and within which Lodha operates. So that's about the key achievements. We will move on to the audit function within MDL. As we have said earlier, we are a listed company. We are so bound by various regulators, the stock exchanges, SEBI, the Companies Act, and so on and so forth. So basically, what I would like to say about audit, and as right now we are responsible both for internal audit and the upcoming ERM framework that we are establishing. So our internal audit and risk management goes hand in hand. Here again, this page comes from the public domain. All the information which is mentioned here is available publicly. So our risk management is basically based on three pillars: business risk assessment first, uh, operational control assessment and policy compliance, risk monitoring, reviewing, mitigation, and reporting are critical components of the risk management process. So identified risks are categorized based on the impact, likelihood, and effectiveness of existing controls. So basically, this is the tenet under which our risk management function operates. On the right hand side, the ERM process has been highlighted, which has been divided into 6 buckets. I do not wish to repeat that because it is available on the public domain and anybody can look at the integrated report that we have published for the year 21-22. All the components are available there. On the left hand side, the objectives of the risk management framework has been very clearly laid out. So ensure long-term business growth by proactively managing the risk landscape. So we are very well aware that basically the risk management or the enterprise risk framework operates basically to enable the business do well, right? So business is the first word and risk management is the back end of that. Then establish a consistent and systematic process of detect, analyze, assess, treat, monitor, and report enterprise risks. Having done that, provide a clear and robust framework for informed risk management, decision making at all levels. This basically decides which risks we are ready to live with, which risks we are not ready to live with, and which risks we are able to very effectively mitigate and take it to the minimization. Fourth is strive to enhance the enterprise risk management process through continuous learning and improvement. So once is established, the establishment of ERM, and then to see that it is regularly honed and it is regularly basically refined to take care of today's and tomorrow's potential risks. The last part is encourage and enhance an effective risk culture, which is the most difficult, and hence it has been kept at the end, that after you have successfully done step number 1, 2, 3, and 4, ultimately you are able to imbibe the risk culture in the mind of all the stakeholders who are operating for the organization. Risk culture is in simple, I mean, if I have to give an example, as we enter into our car, are we putting the seat belt on even before we start the engine? Most of us are not. We drive, we go 100 meters, and when the sensor starts to beep, we put our seat belt, saying, "Arey, seat belt nahi laga hai." So ultimately, we can say that we have put the risk culture when we put the seat belt first and then start driving our automotive. I mean, just an example which I thought I should share. Going on to the core audit approach. So as we spend some time on risk management, it is in our company, it has been understood and well developed concept that internal audit as a part of the governance goes hand in hand in risk management. Basically, it is an integrated and integral part of risk management. So the process of internal audit in our company starts with first drawing up a detailed risk-based plan. So how do we do it? It's a structured way of identifying key risks at global, which is macroeconomic and business environment level, then to take it down to the industry level, and then to the organizational level. What are the global risks? Within that, what are the risks being faced by real estate developer industry? Within that, what are the risks which are faced by Macrotech developers? That's the approach. Then preparing the risk-based audit plan for the year, which is commensurate with the risks identified, and it is also aligned to the business objectives of the organization. Many a times, my past experience has told me, as well as interaction with senior industry leaders like Satish and Deepjee, that many a times we are so internally obsessed with internal audit that we do not basically put it in the overall objectives of the company objectives. So unless it is aligned, the company's risks and company's objectives are focused somewhere else, and internal audit working extremely hard and rigorously towards achieving something else. So there is no coherence between the two. So even before we start on the journey of internal audit plan execution, we spend some time to know that whether we are aligned to what the company objectives are for the year. Then have we captured all the risks that exist? Have we categorized them into red, amber, and green, or high, medium, low? Is our auditing effort, because like any other thing, the auditing bandwidth and the resources are limited. Within the unlimited expectations, unlimited risks. So are we basically selecting the top objectives, the top risk, and we are addressing the top vulnerabilities? All that goes into preparation of the audit plan. The audit plan so prepared is discussed with the HODs at the management forum, which is called as Management Audit Committee. After having discussed there, it is presented to the CFO and MD, whose concurrence is taken. And once their concurrence is taken, it is shared with the statutory auditors for their feedback, their questions, inputs, etc. And once having completed this process, this audit plan is presented to the audit committee of the board, and a formal approval is required. This much of efforts and time goes into the preparation of the audit plan. Then once it is prepared and approved, then various project, process, and transaction audits are executed under these plans. Audits are carried out in combination. So any particular audit activity nowadays has three large segments to it, three large buckets, all intertwined into a single audit exercise. One is, of course, the policy and SOP compliance, because audit at the end of the day is part of the compliance activity. But in addition to that vanilla compliance, we do a robust data analytics on any area that we operate. And that data analytics in some of the areas like sales, channel partner payments, and wherever there is a large number of transactions happening, we do an elaborate transaction testing to support the observations or evidencing as to what we want to say, what are the vulnerabilities, etc. So one thing which I would like to specifically mention is, as probably Satish was saying, I'm now in my 29th year of working. So in a way, though I'm trying to keep abreast with the latest technology, at the mind and at the core, I continue to be, or I am becoming an old school guy. But I like this concept of LOD, the line of defense. It has not gone out of fashion in today. So any organization, if you look at it from the risk lens, works in three line of defenses, wherein the core operating team, the teams which does the work day in and day out and are the line managers, are the LOD1. All your existing framework, your delegation of authority, your policies, guidelines, SOPs, your technology, your SAP platform, your maker checker, all of this forms part of LOD2. Many a times people have a little confusion as to what is LOD2. LOD1 everybody understands, LOD3 is audit. But LOD2 has a huge space in between, which is everything which is not LOD1 and LOD3. So organizations have to continuously focus, and just like Warren Buffett famously says that he likes businesses with a deeper and wider moat. We like companies which have a deeper and wider LOD2. Why? Because the thicker and bigger and deeper your LOD2 is, your LOD3 will get those many less number of observations. I mean, this will be a difficult situation for an internal auditors where they work with equal amount of hard work, effort, focus, and robustness, but they are struggling to get observations. This is a happy situation because the organization's LOD1 and LOD2 is working so well that there are hardly any things coming to LOD3. So this is the principle which we are well aware. And now that I have spent about 6 years in this current organization, the mandate from the board and management is, it's not enough to give observations at a regular interval, but also to see that you effectively work towards improving the LOD2 along with LOD1 so that with all the efforts and all the robustness, you struggle to get observations of those criticality at LOD3. So I thought 5 minutes spent on this would be well spent. The governance mechanism, as we say, this is more the operating part as to what we do with the audit findings. So the major observations and the issues are discussed at the management forum. typically in the presence of the top management, MD and CFO, wherein all the HODs and the process owners are present. Major observations are discussed. Three things are basically discussed as to what went wrong. I mean, stripped to the core, every observation is what went wrong, what is the corrective action taken so that the wrong is done right, what is the preventive action taken so that this wrong will not happen in the future, and who's taking the responsibility for the corrective action, and what is the timeline. Within this type framework, everything falls in place. We also have a strong mechanism to check on the implementation status, and whatever is not implemented at the pre-committed implementation date is again brought to the next MAC, and if required for serious observations, it is also reported to the audit committee. Last is basically, the critical issues, the real critical issues with design gaps are presented to the audit committee of the board on a quarterly basis. So this is the audit approach which we adopt. Lastly, so what basically sets us apart? We believe, like any other large organization which is matured, we feel what helps us in our endeavor is, number one, we have a solid team with a diverse experience. We have a broad spectrum of relevant experiences across industry and consulting, and we have exposures to different businesses, which together makes us strong and multifarious with various capabilities across industries. Second thing is the team selection. We spend a lot of time when we hire a new talent. We take inordinate time in hiring a new talent because it has to be intelligent, of course, smart. It has to have relevant experience, has to have proper work ethics, and has to find enough work so that the guy is focused at the work and work alone and no other things. So this luckily is the culture of the team, and that's the first tenet of success. Second is, as I already said, multidisciplinary. So we have within our team chartered accountants, cost accountants, engineers, architects, and some of the IT specialists. I'll come to that. Especially for any real estate development company, project audits take the maximum time and there is the maximum risk lying. So when we do the project audit, we do a techno-commercial audit, wherein commercial processes, all the major commercial processes which form part of any of the project. If I can quickly recall, they are budgetary control, the running account bills verification, stores, that is materials management verification, fixed assets on the sites verification, regulatory compliances, then the secondary checking of QHSE, quality, health, environment, and safety, and lastly, basically looking at all the variations or CRNs, which is basically change request notes, which we can basically have a variation in the budget. So all these 7 processes are checked commercially. In addition to that, we do a thorough audit of the construction activities, technical stuff, looking at the method statement, looking at the actual execution, material testing, material quality control, quality of workmanship, quality of material. And with some pride, I would like to say that among all the large real estate companies, we probably have the best in-house, in-depth construction audit capabilities. In addition to the commercial audit, we have the best-in-class construction audit capabilities. Lastly, basically, our approach has been beyond compliance and process improvements. And compliance and process improvements is what we are here for and what we are basically compensated for. But going a step ahead, our experience in the trade, in the domain, helps us in bringing leading industry practices and practical solutions. We basically try to identify potential cost-saving areas and devising cost-saving measures. As I said, using IDEA, we do detailed data analytics, which helps us to understand the data at a deeper and more meaningful manner to find out patterns and to find out variations in the patterns, which sometimes highlight the red flags. And all of this result in recommendations which give sizable cost savings. I would like to give an example here to make the point more clearer. Very recently, we looked at category B procurement items for any large real estate company. Steel, RMC, cement, stand, brickwork, the block work, the aluminium form work, all these are the standard A category type inputs. Beyond that, we have a lot of B category types. So some kinds of sands, curing compounds, bonding chemicals. All these are typically below the radar for any expenditure items because they form a small percentage. But for a company of our size, just two of these items, curing compounds and type of sand, adds up to about more than 10 crores a year consumption. So here we took a deep dive and we found out that across different sites, we were using different types of curing compounds. Some were water-based, some were acrylic chemical-based. So we took all these to our technical specialist construction design team and we asked them as to which type of chemicals should be used where. They also took an external help. They did their own study and found out that actually water-based compounds are good enough for all kinds of this, and we don't, very rarely we would need the acrylic chemical-based compounds. So as a result of this exercise, we came out with the policy framework wherein we said that all projects across should be using only water-based chemicals. If someone wants to use a acrylic chemical-based compound, it has to take approval from the head of construction, head of structural design, and head of quality control. This one observation, which was basically we drove it to the closure and we presented in the management audit committee, has resulted in a saving of 1.4 crores per annum on a spend of about 10 crores at a current volume. And as the volumes are expected to grow, these savings are also expected to grow. So this is just one of the examples which came to mind because this we did just about a couple of months back. As to how audit tries to go beyond its standard mandate and try to help business in setting its processes right. Here, to be very honest, it is not out of our wisdom. What we have done is, by the role that audit plays, it has access to all the departments and all the processes. And if you approach people with the right approach and with the right intentions, people are forthcoming in telling you the problems. You have to only connect the dots, find the issue, take it to the right people, seek their help in solving it, and the result is something like this. So actually, these kind of observations come from the collective wisdom of the people sitting inside. You as auditors have to only connect them together and see the process end to end. I think with this, I would like to stop. I think I have said whatever I wanted to, and I can hand it over to Satish and Deepjee. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you just close the presentation, please?
Sure. So I'll just do the stop share.
Yeah. Okay, great, Sachin. Wonderful presentation. All years in a short presentation, you have covered what is the depth of the internal function that the Macrotech developers team has, that led by you. I have two. I'm starting off with just two questions combined in one sort of. First is, when we talk about risk management, is it a top-down approach or a bottoms-up approach, and how your group has done, how internal audit has got integrated in terms of working for risk management, whether you set up the entire risk management framework or you are only reviewing the mechanism for risk management and effectiveness of risk management framework in the company, or was internal audit instrumental in working with external agencies or internal agencies in developing the entire risk management framework per se? That is number one. And the number two question is, how big is the team at Macrotech developers? So these are the two questions which I have.
Sure. So I'll answer the first question first. First question also has two parts. So your first question was whether the risk management is a top-down approach or a bottoms-up approach.
Yes.
So very clearly, I would like to say that it's a top-down approach. It has to be top-down because unless the tone is set at the top, that risk management is something which is important to the organization, the lower levels do not really absorb it. if so, as we always say, what is an entity level control? Tone at the top. So here also tone at the top is very important, and hence it has been a top-down approach. Top really at the level of the board, because we have a risk management committee. Of course, that's a Companies Act mandate that any real estate company with a market capitalization within the first 1,000 companies, and in our second year of listing, we are in the top 55 listed companies by market cap in India. So it's mandatory for us. Risk management framework is mandatory. It is a top-down approach. And that's how it is. On the second part of the first question, yes, internal audit department is involved right from the beginning in setting up this risk management framework in the robust manner. We are taking the help of a very renowned external co-source partner who has industry-wide, country-wide experience in doing this. We are taking their help, and we are establishing this framework within our company. I'm actively involved in the entire process, and it is actually an opportunity for me to gain additional knowledge and to gain the insight beyond my traditional internal function. So it's a strenuous period, but a very exciting one. So I think that's if I have answered your first question. The second question is the internal audit strength of my company is 14 people, including myself. But with the caveat, these 14 people are all commercial auditors, that is the chartered accountants, cost accountants, and the auditors with the finance background. But as I said, when I do the technical audits, the core technical construction audits, I take help from our internal design and cost optimization team, which has the required expertise. So we have very experienced architects, civil engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, facade experts. All these people work with me on a resource sharing basis when I do the technical audit. And this mechanism has worked very well, because those people are very senior technical guys who work closely with design as well as execution. So they would not like to be 100% auditors. They have careers beyond that. At the same time, their time spent and their expertise comes in very handy when they do the audit of various functions. So to keep the internal conflict out, typically we have large projects. So a person who's working on a particular project as a design and execution expert does the audit of a different project. So there are about 20 such people. So they work partially on the construction audits, and my own team strength is about 14, as I said.
Great.
Wonderful.
So basically, taking a guest audit concept.
Yeah, guest audit. Very much.
Superb.
Very good, Sachin. So very nicely described, I must say, of the various things that you do in your function. Now, any construction activity, the way your projects are geographically spread all over the country. I mean, you name it, you go to any major city and you see a Lodha project, and that's the good part of it. I've had the pleasure of visiting and staying at couple of your projects because my friends have bought some places out there, and they are really, really beautiful. So what I want to ask you is that given the widespread locations that Lodha is operating in, how do you ensure that your audit processes are robust enough to take care of all the audit activities that need to happen, all the things that can go wrong, at these locations with a small team like what you have?
Right. So thanks for the question. A very pertinent question. So first, a little correction. So yes, you are right that in terms of geographical spread, we have a major spread, but when it comes to number of cities, we are actually present in only 2 cities. So our geographical spread is in MMR. Predominantly, we are a MMR company,
Mumbai.
but very Mumbai metropolitan region, and we also have a strong footprint in Pune. We have set our foot in Bangalore, and very soon will be one of the prominent names in Bangalore as well. But Satish, you are very right, because very few people, when they say Mumbai, very few people understand that MMR itself is a culmination of 7 micro markets, each with a size bigger than a next big city in India. So those 7 micro markets basically have a potential of 50,000 crores 50,000 crores a year. And Lodha, with this kind of a sales size, which is the largest residential sale, out of these 7 micro markets, we are a dominant player only in 3 micro markets.
Oh,
Can you imagine? So we have to yet go into the 4 other micro markets, and there is enough legroom and headroom to grow within MMR itself. Plus, it's a no-brainer that MMR gives you the best rates per square feet in India. So obviously, that's the most niche market, and we are happy that we have this strategical advantage that we are born and we are catering to MMR right from the beginning, which is a very niche and very highest margin market in India. Now,
oh,
coming to your question, yes, at any point of time, our total number of projects are more than 30,
yes.
more than 30, within which a large spend is happening typically in 7 to 8 projects at a time. And as we said, we are only 14 auditors. We do, this is one thing which I would like to mention. We do everything in-house.
Wow.
We do not have a co-source plan as of now. In future, maybe as we geographically spread, we may go for a co-sourcing plan, but entire audit activity is in-house today with the help of our guest auditors from technical domain. So how do we do it? Number one, here, as I said, our LOD2 is very strong. It helps us. We are a company in the real estate domain with the most robust processes, SOPs, guidelines, and policies, which are across the projects. So we have a certain amount of standardization when it comes to how things are done. So though the design of the project, the overall layout, the FSI optimization may be different project wise, and they cater to different kinds of price points and all that. But the core processes are well defined and they are standardized. So this is one thing which helps us in standardizing our auditing. Number two, we have a strong documentation. So by now, in my 7th year in this company, I have at least audited every project once, at least once. Some of the large expenditure and large exposure projects I have audited 3 to 4 times in this span. And every audit wise, I have the record and the working paper as to what are the issues, which greatly helps us when we basically go to the next audit. What I have to do is basically go to my database, the knowledge bank, and I have to go through what issues came in 1920, 2021, 17, 18, recently, and we have detailed process notes written around this. So all this helps us basically carry out our audit in a proper standardization, and also we have the data analytics tool which help us in doing more with less time and less this. So and plus we are a SAP run company, so our database etc. is there. So again, to make the long story short, because our LOD2 is very strong, it helps us effectively run our LOD3.
Great.
Nice.
Uh,
Very beautifully explained.
the next question, for you, Sachin, is that you talked about the risk-based internal plan,
Yes.
and then we talked about the 4-level, the perfect way to freeze the plan before you go out to audit. That is the management audit committee, identifying the risk at the top, the global risk, the industry risk, then the management audit committee, then taking it to the the process owners, statutory auditors, process owners, and then going on to the audit committee, presenting it there, getting approved, and then going out to do the audit. So what is your cycle time to do all that? Because it takes a lot of legwork, patience, interactions to do all that, to have this perfect, a plan with all stakeholders on board, and also interacting with everybody in place, because everybody will have their inputs and so on. So what is the cycle time which it takes for a yearly audit, to get this into before you start off the audit, before it is approved by the audit committee? So it is a lot of work to be done, So with such a small team, so what is the cycle time and what are the difficulty levels that you face to make this happen?
So again, I'm very happy that this question is asked, and it is representative of a very seasoned auditor who has been doing this across companies and industries, because this is a real pain point and you've really picked it up. So to give you the time span, it typically takes me up to 3 months to conclude this. We are in the month of December. For me, this activity will begin in the third week of December, and it will conclude typically in the third week of March. So January, February, March. Why it will conclude in the third week of March is because typically in the last audit committee of the year, I shall present this audit plan to the audit committee for their approval, for their stamp.
Right.
But before I do that, as you rightly said, all these steps have to be done. So what takes the maximum time? In this process, the maximum time is taken with or for stakeholder interactions. Typically in my company, what I try to do is I try to have a one-to-one interaction with all the HODs and one level reportees below the HODs to get the real insight into two things. One is what is the AOP, annual operating plan, that is going to get casted for the next year, and B, for that annual operating plan to fly and to be achieved, what are the main risks that they are thinking will come. So this discussion happens again at two levels. One is, tell me your annual operating plan. And as you would know, for any company, or as Satish would know with his vast experience, my audit exercise starts at the same time when the annual operating plan also is starting. So it is not yet frozen, because annual operating plan also gets frozen at the same time and presented to the audit committee at the same time when I'm going to present my audit plan. So those things are happening simultaneously. Right? It cannot be linear that आप पूरा अपना plan sign हुआ, पूरा book मेरे को दे दो, फिर उसमें से मैं मेरा audit plan बनाता. So then my audit plan will get frozen somewhere in the month of June or July. So the challenge is that they are saying, अरे मेरे को किधर मालूम है, मैं भी मेरा plan बना रहा हूँ और तू audit करने आ गया. So that discussion is okay. It may not be 100%, but where are we going? What are likely to be our sales for the next year? What is our forecast? What is going to be our construction spend for the next year? What is going to be the marketing effort for our next year? And within that marketing effort, how are we going to allocate our resources across channels? How much for digital? How much for OTT? How much for print? How much for influencers? Nowadays, digital and influencers is the real word. So all this discussion. So it is lengthy. It takes time. It tests your patience, but it is the best part. I would honestly tell you that it is one of the high points of my job, because when I do this exercise, I am actually getting an insight into the business, the real insight as to how it is happening. How does it happen? How is the food getting cooked in the kitchen? So that is very interesting, but at times because it tests your patience. And another thing is, as auditors, our hard stop is defined.
Yeah.
I have to go to the audit committee with my plan in the last audit committee, because I don't have, and then the bus is missed. Right. So
Right.
typically from last week of December till the first week of March, we are running, struggling, and then suddenly then I have to go to the CFO or the MD and say, stop it. Please give these details. Please spend time with us, because in the next 15 days, I have to complete 4 next steps. I have to present it to the RMC, then take it to MD CFO, get their concurrence, take it to the stat auditors, who are also after that, आपका plan किधर है? हमारा presentation आ गया board को, आपका plan नहीं आया. To take the clearance from the stat auditors with all of that, then we have to ultimately take it as a ready one to the audit committee of the board and keep certain amount of space for their mandates.
Right.
Because typically they will always come out with something which we have missed working at the operating level. So typically we would like to fill the jar up to 70% and keep a 30% space for the mandates from the audit committee. So this is the process in the short.
Perfect. Perfect, Sachin.
So Sachin, I think I'm going to ask my best question in 28 episodes. My best question. I haven't asked this question before, and
This is making me nervous, but let me face it.
It's making me nervous actually asking this question. Yeah.
And I'm looking forward, Satish, to hear it.
I've been hearing you speaking for the last 50 minutes, 45 minutes. Sachin, I've seen you about 6 years ago, at least 7 years back. And that incidentally is the time that you spent in Lodha in Macrotech. So I've seen you grow from what you were, okay? And I don't want to define what you were, but I have seen you grow to what you have become. And I want to define what you have become. You become a very mature auditor. You've been very eloquent in what you say, what you do, okay? And you've been very, very, very clear about what you have to do and what you don't have to do. And I think, at least I felt personally, and I'm sure Deepjee opposed that sentiment, in that in the last 45 minutes, you've, kind of talked about it so eloquently. So our viewers to all the episodes are people who are, entering the profession, wanting to absorb what we need to do as auditors, what they don't teach us in the B schools, what they don't teach us on the job. So, what is it that you did in a very lucid way and in your own beautiful way that you described things until now? What is it that you did that makes you where you are, Sachin, today? And you are a real, sincere, mature auditor. I must give this adage to you, Sachin.
I think the question which Satish has asked, I'll just add to that. Uh, Before you answer, Sachin, because we look forward to this answer for all the viewers.
Sure.
I have known Sachin. First, I met him in 1997, 98.
Oh, I didn't
And
have-
since then, I have known Sachin. And as you rightly said, he has grown to be a very mature, a methodical, eloquent, as well as his thoughts are very compact and precise. So whenever Sachin has spoken, or whenever, even when I met him in 97, 98, he was very clear, precise in his talk and his behavior, when dealing in his interactions. So what is the takeaway? What makes you tick, or what should, and what are the takeaways for a good internal auditor, which will really help that person to achieve your stature and your level, is what we expect from you. Please, Sachin, all yours.
Thank you so much. First of all, overwhelmed to hear this because the guys who are saying this to me are senior to me in every aspect. And if they are saying this, and auditors speak truth, so I'm sure they're saying this with their heart, and I humbly accept this and thank you for this. I would only say what has helped me in my journey. I mean, I'll be candid. First of all, I do not know how much I deserve the kind of accolades that you have given me, but I will say what has helped me, and probably the same thing will help the new generation, the guys who are entering the profession. One thing I would very honestly and without any modesty say that the young generation is far more smarter than us.
Yeah.
They are technologically far more oriented. They are quick learners. They very well know what they want from life and what they do not want. So they are that much clear in their thought process. So probably it is easier for them. So whatever has taken me 28, 29 years, for them it may take much lesser than that, and they may make multiple careers.
Yes.
Having said this, 3 to 4 things have helped me, to be honest. Number one, in these 28 years, I have worked out of audit for about 8 years.
Oh.
I haven't been an auditor all my career. 8 years, 2.5 years I have worked on plant as a works accountant, and 5.5 years I have worked in sector commercial, as I said, in Reliance Industries Limited, where I was basically a service provider to an asset manager, looking after all finance processes. So budgeting, dealing with auditors. So there I was on the other side of the table, dealing with statutory auditors of the Middle East as well as in India, consolidators, and then compliances, then setting up an office, then procurement concurrence. So my counterpart of procurement used to basically do, because oil and gas upstream is all about contracting. So I was actively involved in contracting. So in a way, it has helped me in knowing the other side of the business. Typically, the comment I get from most of my stakeholders is, यार आप typical टिकड़े वाले auditor नहीं लगते हो, आपको चीजें समझ में आती है, आपको धंधा समझ में So I think that I probably learned when I was not an auditor. So I would humbly suggest all my fellow professionals that if they can spend some time, I mean, you can always, audit is a noble profession, it's a great profession. And those who want to make the career in audit, by all means, but they should somewhere in the beginning or middle of their journey, should spend some time out of audit. That will give them a well-rounded perspective. One thing which has helped. Another thing, I have been an avid reader right from the beginning, and I spend my free time, whatever I have, in two buckets. One is traveling and one is reading.
Superb.
Both help you a lot. When you travel, so those who speak Marathi as a local language will know a simple adage, केल्याने देशाटन मनुजा चातुर्य ये तसे फार, which simply means that those who travel automatically become wiser.
Yes.
And my job has taken me to 4 different continents, 12 different countries. Some of them are such that people nowadays have advisory against. I have traveled to northern Iraq, Kurdistan, to Yemen, to Wadi Hodida, which is the birthplace of Osama bin Laden. And I have also traveled to Timor-Leste, which is a small country very near the west coast of Australia. So these countries, typically people don't travel, but I was lucky enough, audit profession took me there at company expenses, and I had great time there. So this has helped. Reading increases your wisdom, it amplifies your experiences of life. Traveling makes you smart, street smart. Third thing I would say that typically I have been a good listener.
Wow.
Auditors generally come with some of them, not all of them, some preconceived notion because they are in the profession of at the stripped at the core, finding mistakes, finding faults. Somewhere it sets in their mind that everybody else is making mistakes and I am the one finding it. It is not so. Anybody who will work will make mistakes. The best way of not making a mistake is not to work at all. Not do anything. Also, when those auditors work in operations, work in HPHT environment, high pressure, high temperature environment, they themselves know how difficult it is to make foolproof decisions because you never make decisions with full information in hand. You see, whereas audit is done with all the evidences available, all the wisdom available, hindsight wisdom and all that. So please, one has to understand that audit is simpler rather than taking decisions in the HPHT live environment. Once you have understood it, once your age and wisdom has taught it, you become a patient listener. You become an empathetic listener. It helps because when you listen with all your empathy, people open up, they tell you. A subset of that is all successful auditors keep the issues at the core and keep the people factor out.
Yeah.
What went wrong is the only question which is relevant rather than who did it. You see? In a very limited space where there are wrong intentions, there are moral turpitudes, etc., which is a area of investigation. If you keep those 2%, 3% things out, then it's always everybody has noble intentions. Everybody works for the organization. Everybody wants to win, wants to work honestly for the organization. Mistakes happen because full data is not available. Decisions have to be made. Once it is clear to you, you focus on the problem, what went wrong, rather than who did it. If you consistently follow this, you become successful because people are sure that this man is interested in fixing the problem and not fixing the person.
Absolutely.
Fourth part and the last part, which I think has helped me, is something which Satish himself said. In the area of audit, it's very important to know what you should not do as much as what you do. You know, as they say, audit is fishing and you want to find fish. So first, please find waters where there are fish. Because if you fish whole year in the water where there are no fish, you're not going to get any fish. So when we do the scoping, we spend more time as to what we should not look at because there's so much more to do with so much less resources. So you need to know where you need to focus. You know, I'll end this with a fabulous example which one of my gurus gave me in my career. He said a great sculptor was making a sculpture of Mahatma Gandhi. And there was an onlooker who said, how sir, do you make such a beautiful sculpture? Actually, Mahatma Gandhi is looking alive there. So that man, in a very docile manner, said, Mahatma Gandhi was already there in the rock. I only removed what did not look like Mahatma Gandhi.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
this thing I was told by my guru 20 years ago, but it has stayed with me.
Yeah.
How nicely he said that if you remove what is not required, you will eventually get to where you need to get.
Perfect.
I think that's all. That's
very beautifully put, Sachin. I would say very beautiful.
Sure.
I think this was a very unique question. I dare say that I had not asked this question, or we had not
Sachin,
asked
if you
any of
permit,
the speakers. So it was very beautifully answered. I was wondering how Sachin will pass.
May I conclude the session? May I provide the concluding?
Yes, of course, Deepjee.
yes, please. So before you do your concluding
Are you
comments,
able
I
to
would
hear
just
me?
yeah, we are. Am I audible also?
Yes, very much.
So before
Yes.
Deepjee formally concludes the session, let me once again record my sincere thanks and appreciation to both of you for the first for thinking me worthy enough to invite for this session, and it was wonderful to interact with you. I mean, I have known both of you for years now. Deepjee practically for 25, about almost 28 years now, from 1997 till now.
Yes.
I have always known Satish Shenoy, though Satish did not know me, but that's normally with famous people. So he is one of the industry lights, one of the industry veterans, and I've heard him at n number of forums. So it's a matter of pride. It's a matter of great satisfaction that you actually share a forum with people you look forward to.
Great.
I think
So,
you
Sachin,
should quickly start summarizing.
So Satish, first of all, thank you very much, Satish, and thanks a lot, Sachin. It has been a really wonderful session. Sachin, we wanted to do this session with you for a long time now. So, because I know it is going to add a lot of value to the participants, to the viewers for whom we are doing this session. And it has added a value to us while we are interacting with you.
Absolutely.
So I think I'll just try to summarize, not in a particular sequence, but as the thoughts came, I went taking some jottings, and I'll try to summarize in the best possible way in the next 5 minutes. So
Sure.
the first is that, we about the Risk Management Association internal audit, how internal audit is getting to, be there, making the entire risk management framework, ensuring that, look at the risks, and especially your comment about culture, because that is what is missed out by many. They get it lost into the templates in the framework, and they forget that the DNA of the organization, the risk culture, is most important. So I think that's very important. And the example which you gave about the car seat belt, before you start the engine, you put on the seat belt, or do you do it after you get that ping, sound which tells you that you have missed out putting out the seat belt. So that's the Risk Management Association with Internal Audit, how internal audit is helping in the risk management process for one of the largest real estate developers, the largest real estate developers in residential houses in the country. The second is the cycle for risk-based, for firming up the internal audit plan, because you do a risk audit and then you take it to management and you take it to statutory auditors, CFO, MD, you take it to the audit committee. So that's a whole cycle of 3 months, and you have to dovetail it with the annual operating processes of the organization as they are being made. So you have to sit down with the process owners and keep on extrapolating what will happen, and then dovetail your plan so that both of them, your AOP as well as the audit plan, is ready at the same time. So that's quite an achievement, because you're thinking this all the time along with the process owner, and take it to a culmination where it dovetails with the AOP, because without that, the plan would not be good for audit. So that's the second learning which is coming out for internal audit. We talked about the line of defense. It has become the model, but the essence remains the same. When we talk about the line of defense, I think what clearly you brought out was the second line of defense, the frameworks, processes, SAPs, policies, controls which you put in. The fatter they are, the more dense they are, the less work for the internal audit. And I think the internal audit needs to go on telling the management to build more processes, to build more controls, optimal controls to ensure that there is less work for internal audit. The organization has robust processes. So I think that's where your work is aiding the management. You talked about the 14 auditors that you have, a very lean team compared to the spends that you have. You're talking about 50,000 crores, or so it's a very small lean team. But you also rely on the guest auditors for technical excellence, for technical inputs in terms of construction design team that you have, and you take them out and use their services for the work. The one other aspect which you built out for internal audit was that 70% of the audit plan you make, and then you keep a 30% buffer for inputs from audit committee or from the top management, because that would arrive in the year or at the time of audit committee, whenever they give you inputs, because you are working in a very dynamic environment. So I think the top management will also be saying that we need this project done, or this is little tricky. So that the other aspect which you mentioned was experienced multidisciplinary team. What is the key takeaway from your internal department is multidisciplinary team. You spend a lot of time interviewing candidates to get right fit, so that they're focused on the job. The second is deep insights on the GRC parameters practice. And the third is beyond compliance and process improvement. So you're leading in such a fashion that you're talking about cost savings and beyond compliance and processes. It's not assurance alone, it is more of consulting. So I think that's which you talked about. You of course talked about the project audit which is there. How a real estate developer would have the project audit in terms of budgetary controls, the running bills, the stores, inventory, compliance, health, safety, environment, which is the expense which you have to cover in project audits, which is tricky. And at the same time, the technical audit, which is aided by your guest audit team in terms of the construction. And then I think using cost savings and red flags by using analytics, that is again what you've come out with in terms of cost savings and red flags, which is very important for the organization per se, which would certainly be appreciated. And the best example which I like, about what you said during the day was category B. You should know where to focus on and what not to do. So at the same time, we are talking about what not to do, but you still focused on the 10 crore aspect of B class items, because there you could take everybody into consideration, the process owners, go to the technical heads, go to your technical teams, and then ensure that the organization saves 1.4 crores out of 10 crores, which is a lot. So you knew that out of that 50,000 crores, you need to still focus on the 10 crores and come out with 1.4 crores saving, which is good for the organization. And as you rightly said, the auditor can be there around everywhere. They have access to almost all processes, all people, which sometimes the auditors fail to look at their strength.
Thank you. I'll just correct this. 50,000 crores is basically our aim at the end of 10 years, and not 50,000 crores you have done is the last 6 operating years from 2016.
Very good. Very good.
Yes,
put it
6 years.
Yeah.
6 years or on an average, current year's turnover is about 9,500.
Fair enough.
So that
Fair
I just
enough.
wanted to.
9,000 crores
Spectrum.
and 10 crores. You focused on the 10 crore aspect, which will save money. So it's
Thank you.
It's a lot. Category B really, or maybe category C also, but you focused on that, which was good for the organization. And I think one great strength which the auditor has, which the auditor sometimes forgets, internal auditor, is that they have access to all the people and they can work inter-department, processes and bring people together to ensure savings happen or processes are built better. So I think this is one aspect which you brought out in your presentation. And then, of course, what you talked about is, now I come to the last part, which is the learnings for the young internal auditor, because they want to reach the stage where you have reached.
Yes.
I think that is very important, is out of audit, look at something out of audit, which you said, work someplace, not only an auditor, but in some business process, in some area, which will give you that entrepreneurial kick, which will give you food for thought, which will ensure that you think differently, outside the box. Then business knowledge, very important, which you talked about in this out of audit. Avid reader, traveling and reading, which gives you deeper insights, which I agree with you, because Satish and I have traveled all our life and we have gone to so many places. So, reading and traveling, which makes you think differently, being a good listener. And the thing which you talked about was empathy. Empathetic listening, because you need to empathize with the person with you're working, because that person is working in high pressure, high tension. They're taking decisions based on some knowledge or some processes or some data which is available to them at that point in time, and they have to take a knowledge because they are in the line function. And
Correct.
you are only doing a post-mortem later on. So I think you have to have that empathetic listening and view to ensure why the decision was taken, and accordingly then build your reports for the organization per se. So I think that is what you think about, and at the issues at the core and not fixing people. I think that's one other learning for the auditor, because if you keep working on issues, you will get that respect in internal audit automatically, where half your work, after a few years, you will find that most of your work is done because people have a certain perception about you, and that perception will be very good. So that will aid you to, because if you're looking at issues, a person knows he can come and share with you. A person knows that they can be open with you, and that's one great quality. Other than what you talked about, the 2 to 3% integrity issues. If somebody has an integrity issue, you need to look at it differently. It's a forensic thing which is separate altogether. But otherwise, I think that is what is coming out. And the last is what you should not do and what you should be doing. So I think that's a wonderful presentation, Sachin. I'm really bowled over. So along with Satish, I want to thank you for being with us, spending time, and for this wonderful pearls of wisdom. So thank you very much, Sachin.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine, and thanks again for a lovely evening. It sets up well into the weekend, and thank you so much. I really enjoyed interacting with you, and I hope a listener and whoever are listening or whoever will listen to this will get something out of my journey and my experience.
They certainly will. And Sachin, I must say, over the years, I've seen you grow, as I said before, and I'm so happy. So the profession needs many such people like you who will take this ahead. There's so much work to do in internal auditing, and good luck to you in all your endeavors.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Good luck. All the best, Sachin.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Deepjee. Thank
Bye.
you.
Happy weekend.
Bye.